Hello dear students. Once again, I, Dr. Shikha Jyoti, welcome you all in Social Studies class. As promised in my last video, I am going to present part 2 of class 10th History chapter 2, Nationalism in India. In this part, we will cover second important movement of the chapter, Civil Disobedience Movement, which took place in 1930. Topics which we are going to discuss in this video are towards civil disobedience movement, the Salt March, different groups participation, limits of the movement, and collective belonging. Let us see some political situation of India prior to this movement. Few Congress leaders wanted to participate in provincial election. They believed that it is important to oppose British policies within the council. C.R. Das, Motilal Nehru formed Swaraj Party within the Congress to argue for a return to council politics. In such a situation, two factors affected India's politics towards late 1920s. The first was the effect of worldwide economic depression. Agricultural prices began to fall, collapsed after 1930. Demands of the goods fell and export declined. Countryside was in turmoil. Against this background, the new Tory government formed a commission under Sir John Simon. The commission was to look into the functioning of constitutional system in India and suggest changes. The problem was that there was not a single member. They were all British. So when commission arrived in India in 1928, it was greeted with the slogan, "Go back, Simon." Viceroy Irwin announced a vague offer of dominion status for India in an unspecified future. At the Lahore session of Congress in 1929, under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, Congress adopted the resolution of Purna Swaraj. It was declared that 26th January 1930 will be celebrated as Indian Independence Day. They took a pledge to struggle for complete independence. As the government had not granted India dominion status, the Congress decided to launch civil disobedience movement under Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi found in salt a powerful symbol that could unite the whole nation. In January 1930, he sent a letter to Viceroy Irwin stating 11 demands. The most stirring of all the demand was the demand to abolish salt tax. Salt was something used by both rich and poor alike. It was one of the most essential items of food. The tax on salt and monopoly over its production revealed truth of government policies. So on 11th of March, Mahatma Gandhi started his famous Salt March, accompanied by 78 volunteers from Sabarmati to the coastal area of Dandi. He manufactured salt and violated the law. This marked the beginning of civil disobedience movement. Thousands in different parts of the country broke salt law, manufactured salt, and demonstrated in front of government salt factories. In many places, forest people violated forest laws by going into reserved forest to collect wood and graze cattle. Worried by the developments, colonial government arrested Congress leaders like Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan and Mahatma Gandhi. Frightened government responded with a policy of brutal repression. Almost 1 lakh people were arrested. In such a situation, Mahatma Gandhi once again decided to call off the movement and entered into the pact with Lord Irwin on 5th of March 1931. By this pact, Gandhiji consented to participate in 3 roundtable conferences. The government summoned 3 roundtable conferences. Congress boycotted the first one. Gandhiji attended second one after suspending civil disobedience movement and demanded dominion status for India. Government agreed to release political prisoners. The third roundtable conference led to the passing of Government of India Act of 1935. Let us look at the different social groups that participated in civil disobedience movement. Why did they join the movement? What were their ideals? We'll see one by one. The first group which participated was of rich peasant community. They were like Patidars of Gujarat and Jats of Uttar Pradesh. They were active in the movement as they were hard hit by the trade depression and falling prices of crops, found it impossible to pay government's revenue demand. When government refused to reduce the demand, they became enthusiastic supporters of civil disobedience movement. For them, fight for Swaraj was a struggle against high revenue. Another group was of poor peasants. They were small tenants cultivating land they had taken on rent from landlords. As the depression continued and their income shrank, small tenants found it difficult to pay their rent. They wanted the unpaid rent to the landlord to be remitted. One more group was of business class. During First World War, Indian merchants and industrialists had made huge profit and became powerful. They wanted protection against import of foreign goods. Keen on expanding their business, they reacted against colonial policies that restricted business activities. Industrialists attacked colonial control over Indian economy and supported civil disobedience movement. The industrial working class did not participate in the movement in large number. Some workers participated on the ideals of Gandhian program. They participated in strikes, protest rallies, and boycott campaign. Another important feature of this movement was the large-scale participation of women. During Gandhiji's Salt March, thousands of women came out of their houses, listened to him, participated in protest marches, manufactured salt, and many of them went to jail. Not all social groups were moved by the abstract idea of Swaraj. One such group was of untouchables who called themselves Dalits and oppressed. Gandhiji declared that Swaraj would not come for 100 years if untouchability is not eliminated. Dalits' participation in civil disobedience movement was therefore limited. Some of the Muslim political organizations in India were lukewarm in their response to civil disobedience movement. How did people belonging to different communities develop a sense of collective belonging? This sense of collective belonging came partly through the experience of united struggle. History, fiction, folklore, song all played an important role in making of nationalism in India. The identity of nation was symbolized in one image. In 20th century, the identity of India came to be visualized as the image of Bharat Mata. First image was created by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. By 1921, Gandhiji had designed Swaraj flag. It was again a tricolor having red, green and white. Also had a spinning wheel in the center representing Gandhian ideal of self-help. Another way of creating a feeling of nationalism was through reinterpretation of history. Indians began looking into the past to discover India's great achievements in ancient time. Growing anger against colonial government brought various groups and classes into a common struggle for freedom in first half of 20th century. Thank you.